So when we talk about what separates us humans from the rest of the animal kingdom, a couple things can come to mind, but one of the big ones is fire. We can use fire, and as far as I know, no other animal can. But in order to figure out what the role of fire is in human evolution, we need to know when humans started using fire, and so we can know how we changed after that. And that's where it gets difficult. Identifying fire, even in archaeological sites that are more recent, is difficult because it doesn't necessarily leave a lot behind. And the farther back you go, you're not going to find a constructed hearth or a fire pit. So currently, estimates range from maybe 300,000 years ago to 2 million, depending on whose theory or evidence you want to believe. Currently, some of the strongest evidence for early fire is from Wonderwork Cave about 1 million years ago. And this evidence was found using micromorphology, and micromorphology is a way of looking at little sections of a site under the microscope, and with that you can identify what types of minerals you're using, and specifically charcoal and ash deposits. Ash deposits are especially important in this case because if you find them, it's a sign that it's an in situ fire. It's not being brought in from other places. And so that's what we found at Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. But there's one problem with the geology of the site. There's these geological calcite called travertine, and it visually can appear very similar to ash. And it's also made up of the same mineral, calcium carbonate, as ash. So a lot of techniques to differentiate by the chemical structure don't work. My work is applying infrared spectroscopy to these thin sections to identify ash versus geological calcite. And other people have used infrared spectroscopy as a way to identify ash, but they've required like loose materials of sample, and it's large and can be destructive. And when you're talking about million-year-old fire, we don't really have that much material to play around with. So I'm working on this, and I've been working on this, and I found that you can zap spots on a slide, and so this is a centimeter. That's probably, I could take 4 or 5 samples from right there. So it's very precise. And so far, I've been doing experimental work on ash that I've made myself, as well as some geological forms of calcite. And what I found is that you can get some differences in structure of the spectra for these types. And that I'm hoping that this will be able to distinguish it in actual archaeological samples when I move on to that shortly. So this will hopefully work at Wonderwork and possibly at other sites and be able to identify fire in more early sites and maybe even farther back. And I believe that my work has a lot of implications for answering the question about how we became human. Thank you.